Hi there. Hi, everyone. It's Shannon Port. And oh, nice to see you. First one here. Yay. Welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. Um, we are just getting started here. And today we are going to be talking about June. And we're going to be talking about the Gemini new moon that's happening on June 3rd. And so I named the video Super Conscious Mind Power. And we're going to talk about some of the deep, deep esoteric wisdom and the metaphysical wisdom around the archetypal energies of Gemini. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I am actually right after I finish this live stream today, I am I'm going to do an interview with my friend and colleague and someone who's worked with me for quite a few years, Anya Grace. And so I'm not sure if she's going to post it on her channel, but I wanted to mention it. And I'm assuming you guys can hear me. Yes. All right. So it's Anya Grace, and she's probably going to post it. But anyway, I'm going to be talking with her a little bit about the work that we're doing here. And so if you're interested, you can check out that video at Anya Grace. And I'll post the link here on this video for sure after we do it. It's going to be later on today. We're also going to talk a little bit about light body yoga because she's actually been working with me since she's quite young. She's been working with me since she was 22, and she's 26 now. And so I have a light body yoga 7-week online. It's an online metaphysical training in the archetypal wisdom of the body of light. And it's really about super consciousness, the very thing we'll be talking about today. It's about awakening the vehicle of super consciousness in your field. And it's our higher spiritual body. And so that being said, oh, yay, good to see you guys. Okay, I also want to mention last video in the live stream, if you saw the chat, there was several people who were asking me how to get a hold of me. And so many people asked me and said they didn't even realize that I did private sessions, but I mentioned it last week. And so, yes, I do. Always, you can find that information in the description box. Just hit show more. And then underneath, I put all my links. So everything I'm teaching, everything I'm doing, all the Instagram, Facebook, website, all of that, it's always in the description box under show more. And so I was glad I did that. I got an avalanche of emails, and so many people who have been following me for a long time ended up doing sessions. So it was really great. Super nice to meet some of you guys. So hi. All right, so let's see, how do we want to do this? We're going to dive into the deep dive. We're going to go deep into the esoteric wisdom of Gemini. Gemini is a mutable sign. I have my Mercury in Gemini, and I also have my moon in Gemini. And so sometimes I tend to speak quickly and speak about many different things, but I have a lot of Gemini. It actually falls in my 10th house as well. So I am really hoping to plant seeds at this new moon for sovereignty, for power, and for command of our own mind. That's what this is. I almost named it positive mind control or superconscious mind control, because that's what it is. We have our power. This is Gemini. We're going to go into Gemini. We're going to break it down. We're just going to lay it all out on the table. Gemini is the sign of the lovers. It's the sign of sacred union. It's the sign of the split mind coming together as the unified mind. When the mind comes together and it's restored into its wholeness, we open up the channel. We talked a lot about this. The last video we did, Mars in Cancer, Kundalini activation, and it's a little bit about summer solstice. We started to talk about this, the very last video we just did. But that channel is opened for us to receive super consciousness from above as well as from below. It opens the heart. So Gemini, the archetype, the lovers, is the number 6. The number 6 represents, we're just going to go right into some of the correspondences. Gemini, the number 6, first of all, let's look at some of the correspondences for 6. The tree of life, it's Tiferet, it's the sun. It's the center of the tree, it's the heart. And so 6 is also the Star of David. So it represents sacred union of the above and the below. We talk a lot about that here. It represents the merging of the fire and the water principle within. That's really nothing more than the higher mind and the lower mind. We are living in a state of 3D ego consciousness. Make no mistake, this world that we look out and see has been created through a fallen consciousness, an imposter consciousness. We call it the ego. And the ego works very closely with our body of pain in our subconscious mind. It's really kind of represented by the sign Pisces and the dark moon, the underbelly. The ego and the body of pain work together, and they trigger each other. And the ego really has full control over everything, or at least it wants you to think it does. So when we are living in a state of ego consciousness, we're split, we're divided. In the same way that our world is divided, humanity is living in a fractured, divided state. There is a divide between the masculine polarity and the feminine polarity, and all the correspondences that go with that. Everything is correspondences: light, dark, love, hate, masculine, feminine. It's within and without, above and below. All the correspondences that are polarity and opposite are being mirrored in this field. The problem is that when we're in ego consciousness, it can never ever create the state of sacred union, ever. It is literally impossible for us to access what is called super consciousness, or the full awakening of spirit within our field. When we access super consciousness, all of the strife, all of the longing, all of the suffering, all of the that I call the polarity wars are over within our own container. And then we become a vessel to bring the good news of all scriptures. This is the good news that source, superconsciousness, is the divine creator, very closely linked to the divine mother. And all of us are provided for. It's through our own creativity. So this is something we're going to jump into. The heart. And I know many of you that come to these videos and these podcasts right now, your true savior is your heart, but you cannot access the full power of your heart until you get your own mind in order. As long as the mind is being run by every little thing that we see on the outside, every little, stimulation and trigger, we can have our successes in polarity, and we certainly do. We have our ups and our downs. The ego loves for us to get some success. The ego also loves for us to climb up and up and up and up. In fact, certain lifetimes, the ego will catapult us to the top so that we think we've mastered it, but that's the ego's game. Then it gets to start bashing us back down where we're told that we belong, because really we're imposters. We don't deserve it. We should live in shame, guilt, judgment, and attack mode. The ego loves to keep us there. It giveth with one hand and taketh away with the other. This is the story of the ego. So today we're going to talk about how to rise, I want to say beyond or above, but it's really within, to the center, so that we can experience the unification of the mind, the unification of our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, to have them working in what I call light body harmony. It's something I'm teaching in this course. It's a practice to have harmony happening within, so that the ego has no place once we get to that place. And it's, the ego can teach us. That there's obvious things that we can say about the ego. It's a great teacher. It will teach us, but it really doesn't teach us, because it gets us to attack others quietly, secretly, in the private of our own mind. The ego is the great attacker. We, in our underbelly, we're constantly judging. You're judging me, I'm judging you. I'm judging the room. I'm judging this. It's all, we can't help it. And the ego can't stand to be in any situation without feeling like it has control. And it always has to tell you that you're either better or you're worse. There's no other way you can be with the ego. You're either better than the people or the person you're talking to, or you're somehow inadequate and not good enough, which creates a serious charge within in the body of pain. They both create a charge, but when you're not good enough, that actually creates the most rage and violence. Not being good enough is, it's when we're in that state of feeling wounded and not loved, that there's a kind of rage that builds up within us that is actually the most toxic, because as divine beings that we are, it's part of our, we have free will, but we have to understand what we are. When we don't, that's the original sin. To lose touch with being a son of of superconsciousness, a ray of that great light. When we lose that, we lose everything, and then we try to build it back up with these powers that we create, which are very judgmental, attacking, um, taking. We take from others, and we just lose touch with real kindness that comes from power, and real creativity that comes from win-win, where everybody wins, not beating the person next to you or being the best so that nobody else can touch you. It's about win-win. It's about shining the light where you're meant to shine it, so that you give this great gift, and then other people shine their light back on you, and the world is beautiful. um okay, just got a text from Anya. So, okay. I've noticed lately so many lessons in judgment and the tearing down misperceptions and false beliefs. This is perfectly in line with these teachings. It's so powerful. Let me tell you, and this is one of the things that's really coming in strong at Art of the Feminine. Give up your judgment. We think that we can't be safe. We think that it's our protection. If I judge that and I judge that, we don't think it consciously, but subconsciously we think I'm protecting myself. And it always makes us kind of a little bit better. Something's wrong there. Something's wrong there. Something's wrong with the system. Something wrong is wrong with the world. But what it does is that it tears away at the fabric of our own heart, and we're not able to access this consciousness. So here we're going to jump into the planets at the Gemini new moon, and then we'll go back into the teachings of the lovers of the Hebrew letter Zayin. And we're going to talk a little bit about core beliefs and core thoughts, how the mental body has to be brought into alignment before we can have any real power. We're going to talk about how to do that. But first, let's look at this. We've got the sun and the moon at 12 degrees Gemini, where the new moon is happening. The Mercury, the ruler of the new moon, is in Gemini. And as I was looking at things today, I realized Venus will be in Taurus, her own sign. Mercury will be in Gemini, its own sign. Jupiter in Sagittarius, right at home in its own sign. Neptune in Pisces, and Saturn in Capricorn. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets. And I might have missed one, but I think I got them all in their own sign. That's really familiar territory, and it's just showing that we've got our ducks in a row here. There's a lot of good things happening right now, leading us into the eclipse season, to the summer solstice, winter solstice, as well as the eclipses that we have coming on the axis of Cancer and Capricorn coming up later on in July. So with Mercury in its own sign, it is very active, and it's opposing Jupiter in Sagittarius. We're going to just take a second to talk about Gemini and Sagittarius as when I look at the wheel, when I look at Gemini and Sagittarius, immediately it's alchemy to me. And I'll tell you why, because Sagittarius is temperance. It's art. You think of the mixture, the admixture of the light and the dark. You think of the tarot card temperance, and it's art in some decks. It's the great art. It's alchemy. This is Sagittarius. This is what it represents. The galactic womb The home of the Great Mother can be found in Sagittarius as well. So Jupiter will be conjunct that later on this year, but right now he's retrograde in Sagittarius. Opposite. Hi, hi, Anya. I just introduced you at the beginning of this call, and mentioned that we might be getting together later today. So nice to see you. So then we have opposite Sagittarius, we have the lovers in Gemini. The lovers are the alchemy of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the masculine energy, the subconscious mind is the feminine energy. All right, so we have that. Both of those signs are then being squared by Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is in its own sign, Pisces. This is adding a deep, deep spiritual element to this. It's almost a T square. It's a little loose there, but Neptune is at 18 degrees Pisces. We have Mercury at 27 degrees Sagittarius and Jupiter at 20. Or I'm sorry, Mercury's in Gemini, Jupiter is in Sagittarius. It's a T square, but that's a lot of energy. And so Neptune is pouring energy, is kind of squaring these, this opposition of Mercury and Jupiter, and giving it that spiritual punch that we need, that and also bringing up the underworld energies of Pisces, those underworld subconscious energies that oftentimes stay split off from our vision, that we don't know exist. These are going to all be challenged and brought up for us to see around the time of the new moon. We also have I can't help it, Anya makes me laugh every time I just even see her name. She's amazing. So we also have Mars in Cancer. Speaking of Mars in Cancer is we did a whole video on it, but Mars in Cancer can also stir up some rage, because Mars in Cancer can be some pent up emotional energy that's really trapped down in there. And with Mars there, it's kind of it's lighting a fire. It's boiling the waters. It's boiling the waters of the Great Mother, which is really our subconscious mind. So we have that happening, and and we also have Pluto and Saturn still conjunct in Capricorn, conjunct the South Node. What I want to say about that, squaring Eris and Aries, what I want to say about that is that first of all, I have a really great video planned for that conjunction and leading up to the big conjunction. A lot of you guys have asked in 2020, but we're really going to touch on what that conjunction means. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, with Jupiter entering Capricorn later on. But that is still on squaring Eris at the time of the new moon. And I think we're going to leave it at that and jump into some of this wisdom. I'm just going to take a peek here where we're at. All right. So I'm just going to scroll back and see. Shannon, watching you from Brazil. Oh, that's so great. Hi. All right. So let's talk about this. I want you to definitely take something from this video and feel like you have a tool to stay positive. We're living in, I just wrote up when I was writing up the write-up for Light Body Yoga, I was saying we live in this sea. It's a sea of substance and forces. And we are being challenged constantly. This is what I wanted to say, is that when somebody's in this sacred union that we're talking, the sacred union of the subconscious and conscious mind, and superconsciousness is flowing through their heart and through their field, you can feel it. The reason you'll feel it, everybody will feel it differently. If you're really, really trapped at the moment and contracted, it may feel threatening to you to be in the presence of somebody who's open in that awareness, because it shines a great light. If you're really contracted, and you can take it two ways. Sometimes if you get in the presence of someone who's in that state, it almost can hurt, because it's like, and if you stay there and stay with it, it will move you, because that's what we do. We are creatures of osmosis and entrainment. We're constantly harmonizing, this going back to light body harmony, harmonizing each other. Even just watching this video, if there's something I say that you needed to hear, you get a hit of harmonizing in your heart, and things begin. We talked about this last video. Every thought, everything we take in with our eyes and with all of our senses brings our psyche and our consciousness to a different place. It's happening I mean, just thousands of times per second. We're changing. We're Nothing is static. Everything is moving. So when we start to come into that space, the world around us changes. So we're just going to take a minute to talk about how we can do that. Right now, you will notice that in the world, what we're seeing is mostly chaos and noise. Mercury represents the word, Gemini represents the word, it represents our thoughts and our speech. The reason this particular time period is so different than past cycles and past decades and centuries is because technology has really sped things up and kind of invaded our mind. So I was thinking about this because I've been doing this work for quite a while and really start to hit the ground running around 2003, even though much of it started coming in the late 90s. There wasn't the technology we have now. And so I'm a lifelong meditator and working with higher energies. Right now, I can say that even being able to hold those energies in a sustained way, the field that we're living in is moving so hard and fast in polarity that our nervous system and our thoughts are not our own much of the time. So that means that we think about, so with social media, and with the amount of communication we have. I mean, I'm just looking at like how instantaneous this is. So beautiful because it also, there's a light side and a shadow side to this. The quickness of it, the mercurial communication, fast paced things happening in the now. There is no time. The no time zone is very Mercury and very alchemy, but we have to claim that space. We have to claim that space. It's not going to be given to us. Nothing on the outside is going to do that work for us. And you don't even have to think of it as work, but you do have to make an intention to leave the judgment, hate, attack, and the over consumerism, over identification with the body. Even though the body is gorgeous, it's our vessel, it's beautiful, but the over identification with the body that happens in the world, it gets to the best of us. It's trying to trigger the old program. Come back into this. This is where your power is. This is where your power is. It's based on comparison. It's you compared to everyone else you see. It's you against the world, basically. And so that message is being beamed at us in many ways. So just taking a moment here. You almost have to be a rebel at first. You have to push everything away and say, you have to use your free will to make a very strong intention. And I'm telling you this because I know that I've lived this and I know it. First of all, you're working through all your stuff. And this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you are. This is what came in today when I was in the shower, getting ready today. Truth does not need to be defended. You do not have to defend who you are. In fact, sometimes the less you talk about it, the more power you have. And that's a teaching in the mysteries. If you want something, if you really want to create something, don't give it words yet. Keep it in the womb and shine the light of superconsciousness on it. The second we birth it through our word, it's in the outer world. And oftentimes we birth things prematurely. So know that what you are, we've been building up to this. Own it. Be who you are. However different you are, it doesn't matter. Whatever sex you are, whatever sex you love, whatever color you are, whatever God you worship, whatever art you create, whatever profession you choose, whether you choose to be married or not married, have children or not have children, love men or love women, be an activist or be more quiet. It doesn't matter. It's your choice, but own it. And go into the heart with that and merge your subconscious and conscious mind. The more we defend it, we step into the program, which is polarity and duality. It's so tricky, but it will rob you of your real power. And I've experienced this enough to know it. and I'm never going back. That's all I can say. Once you jump in and you're in the pool, it's the pool. It's like in the tarot. It's like the star archetype. When you step into the waters, once you're in that baptism of waters in the subconscious, and you dip into your you become a conduit for super consciousness. There is um, there is nothing that you have to defend anymore. You only become a creator, like the source. You become a creator. And that's all you do. You become a lover and a creator. Just your very presence starts to lift up those people who are around you. And so if you have a mission, we all have our mission. So let's say if I define my mission would be, it's always been the feminine, healing of the feminine, because I know from my own work, I don't share this very often, but I know that many, many cycles I was able to experience abuse as a feminine consciousness for a reason, to bring that light onto the planet, and deeply, 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 the deep wounds of the feminine, the deep imbalance of the feminine. And it doesn't mean that in another cycle it was masculine, but in this particular, let's call it 26,000 years, it's been a lot of feminine healing. And so, um, not sure why the screen just disappeared. I'm just gonna bring this back in, and there it is. Okay, so I know that's my work, and so sometimes that can trigger people. Sometimes people don't want to hear about it, and sometimes people, what about the masculine? What about the masculine? Well, I talk about the masculine and feminine with that work every day, all the time. But it's a particular frequency at this time from a particular soul group that I know I'm part of, that's doing this work, and that's no big deal. I own it. In fact, I never talk about it. To even say that today is very rare. But let me just see if there's anything else. Oh, and then the other thing is that since I was a child, I have found myself in a cave meditating in my closet by the time I was 3 years old, with an altar. I've said this before, with holy water, with acorns, with my stuffed animals, with scriptures, knowing that for some reason I have some connection to wisdom, scriptural wisdom, but also the great metaphysical wisdom, the what might be called the mystery teachings, and the esoteric wisdom that comes in the Gnostic lineage and the Kabbalistic lineage. Like I know that it's in my body. I have it. So that's what I do in this world. That's what I do. I spread it for those people who it resonates with. But it doesn't matter. It's not the only way, and it's not everybody's way. So everybody. But this is just an example of giving this gift here for those people who want to show up. You may be an activist. You may be working with climate change. You might be working with human trafficking, which is very much a part of my work as well. Anything about women and children, and human hearts, men as well, all of it, human hearts being annihilated and raped and hurt and taken from, falls under that umbrella. And I told you I was going to talk about what was going outside my window last time, and I didn't get to it. I'm going to hopefully get to that today. So, no, just what do you love? Just find it and do it. That is how you do this work of Gemini. You have to know who you are and not be defensive about it. Now you might put out a manifesto. You might let the world know here and there, like, look, this is me. This is my self-discovery. This is what I found out. That's great. That's creative. That's a creative act. You might write songs, create music, and create workshops and teach, but not in a defensive way, in a giving way. The secret to having wealth is, in this new paradigm, is give it away. Give away your wealth. Give away your soul energy. Give it. Give it to people who are hungry for it, who are thirsty for it. You know, there are billions of souls on this planet, many of whom have not yet even had a taste of this kind of a sacred union of Gemini, who don't even realize that there's a subconscious mind, that they don't even know that there's of course we have our popular psychology and things like that, but to really, really understand that part of us that hasn't been seen, and why you want to know why the outer, check the inner. You want to know why the climate in the outer world, check your inner climate. I mean, that is what this is really all about, and what my next video is actually about. All right, so let's just take a moment and slow down and see where this is supposed to go. So your core beliefs. This came in today when I was in the shower. I was getting just getting some ideas of how I could put something that's practical. What are your core beliefs about yourself? This is basic. It's basic psychology too. But it's the most important thing, because you can do mantras, and I have long history with chanting. It's amazing alchemy. It's amazing tantra. But if you don't understand in the first place what your sabotaging beliefs are, they will always take any practice you do and twist it. And the ego is so tricky. It's like you might have this great spiritual practice, you might be doing all these things, but if you're unchecked in your own dark, you will not know when it's being hijacked, when your spiritual practices or your daily work or your creativity is being used. You don't want it to be used. So what I usually have people do is just start like take two or three, no more, because there's usually two or three core beliefs that are, because those beliefs are creating your reality. Those are the mind. That's Mercury and that's Gemini. Those beliefs are flavoring. So let's say someone comes along and here's a great teacher speak with giving a fountain of wisdom. Each person, there's 10 people listening. 10 people will have 10 different messages received unless they've opened the fountain of truth. If you can speak the language of truth, you'll get the essence of it, and that's it. Your heart will explode. It will, because the universal language is truth. It's light. It's light, and we all speak the language of light. But if you're in your wound and your ego, every one of the 10 people is going to take a different message, and they'll be arguing about it. No, it's this. No, it's this. Well, welcome to planet Earth. This is religion. This is politics. This is absolutely everything we have. Core beliefs that are of the ego will never harmonize. They never will harmonize. They can't. It's impossible. This system is not set up for harmony. It's set up for polarity and duality. The next level that opens the heart has nothing to do with this. It opens the fountain of superconsciousness in the heart, and everything becomes creative. You will speak. That's when you know, and you know when you're with a pretty awake group, when you're all doing something. I mean, the way we flow when we're awake is so powerful, and the way we partner with people when we're awake. There's no room. There's room for human mistakes to come in. There's room for different beliefs to come in, but the way we work it out is completely coming through the higher will. We can disagree. We can say, "Oh, I don't get it. No, I think it's this. No, I think it's this." And you can say it with a smile. Well, let's see. What is it? Let's get together and find out what it is together. That's how every problem on this planet should be solved. There is dark energy on this planet that is here for a reason. It's here because of the suffering and the trauma. And many of the people trapped in that energy really believe their core beliefs. They absolutely believe them. So you can't take that from them. They have to, and it won't work to argue them. You can never out politic them, ever. You can't. I know people, because of the work I do, I know people with such different belief systems, and I know that both systems are good people, but I know they're not ready to come together yet. It's just not going to happen. So that's our work. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing here at Art of the Feminine. So find your core beliefs and change them. I recommend make those your mantra. Write down your negative core belief, and let's see, what would be a good core belief be? The system doesn't support me. The system that I live in on this planet doesn't support me. It doesn't support my needs. Something like that. That's very general. But the exact opposite of that would be, all are my allies. Everywhere I go, I'm provided for. It's so simple. I know it's so affirmation-y, but it's so true. And it's true. Take the opposite of it. Just take your core three, write down the opposite of those three, and then begin whatever other practice you want, just knowing that you're not going to let those beliefs come in. I had to deal with a shadow belief for a long time in my own work, even though my own work was growing and growing and growing. The further you go, your soul is not going to let you get there until you've annihilated. They call it pulling the weed from the heart. Because if you're on the path of mastery, which we all are, we're all going to get there. We're all masters. And you get really high up, but then, the ego comes in through the back door and sabotages it. the amount of power in your field is almost like the God force, and you are going to have a big bang of that negative energy in the world. It's like the more power you have in your mind that you cultivate, the more, if you slip, you can project uh, um, falsity or bondage into the world. And so that's why when your heart is true, as you go deeper and deeper, that's why we have to surrender. That's why we said, I surrender. I give it all to you. I surrender. I want to see the truth. When we want to see the truth, we're shown the truth. And it's humbling, but yet right underneath that humility is all power. All the power that ever was or will be is right here for all of us right now. I kid you not. It's right here, right now, beyond politics, beyond the climate, beyond the atrocities on the planet. And those things on the outer that want to heal need you to find that place. And that's what this is about. So reverse those thoughts. Start to look at how you feel about others, literally. Just whoever's your greatest, like, find what triggers you. Who triggers you? We all have those people that, even though we love them, we're like, oh my God, I'm triggered. And there's a reason for that. Oftentimes, these are people from our own soul group, and soul groups are really doing work together. Find that if it triggers fear, or if it makes you feel not good enough, or like things aren't happening for you, or like you're never going to have it. Everyone else has it. That's something I want to touch upon. That's where you need to start working. That's where you want to clear it. Be done with it. Just throw it all into the cauldron. Let it go. If there's a lesson there, the universe won't let you let it go. But if you're done, if you can say, I'm done today. Holy Spirit, take this. I give it to you. Replace it with divine will and superconsciousness. This is not denial. It's not dissociation. This is power, creativity, and this is the divine human consciousness that we're awakening. Okay. How we project is through our words. So every word you say is creating your reality. Every word. It doesn't mean you have to check every word, but just be aware. Sometimes when things get hard, when challenges come, that's when we really have to step up and stick with it, because that's when we're being tested to get stronger, only to get stronger. I'm going to take a look. It seems like there's grace unfolding. I've been making a practice of pulling people into my heart and holding them as a way to circumvent judgment. Absolutely. And I have something, I didn't get to it today, but this is the deal. What you wish for another human being, we said this last time, you wish for yourself. What the path that you want them to take, do you want them to have success, failure? Do you want them to really get taught a lesson? Do you want judgment to come in and take them out? Or, like we do, we like on this earth, there's a lot of rage built up. There's a lot of Mars in Cancer. It serves a little purpose to say, okay, I got that anger out, but then just know if you wish it for another, you're wishing it for yourself. This is because of unity. This is one of the high level teachings that we can't be taught it. We have to experience it. Once you know the other is you, things will change in a very powerful way. If there's any questions, please, you can go ahead and put them down. Pray for your enemies. Yeah. And it's not a trick either. We're not trying to outsmart people. It's like we need more love and kindness on the planet. And that's just the truth. That is the truth. How many people do you come in contact with in a day? And I'm not talking about wounded kindness. I've had lots of wounded kindness in my day where I was kind, because I'm a natural kind soul, but there comes a point where you have to align. You have to have that marriage first and give from that place. You have to give. This is what it is. You have to give knowing that you are not a victim. If you give because you're a victim, you're kind of a martyr, and you just think that's okay, I'm just going to give to try to get better. Well, that's not real service. Real service comes when we've had that, when we give from power, we're actually holding people up. We're not projecting the wound in a greater way onto the planet. So, oh, thank you. Not a trick, but a bit Zen mystic for general consumption. Okay, well, let's see, Wendy. So Notice how you feel after you wish. Okay, if you get an ego hit after you condemn something, know that that ego hit is strengthening your ego body. So this is really practical. Just really practical. All day, just today after you watch this, go and just notice what pops up in social media where you're like, yeah, yeah, that's awful, that's bad, and that's evil. And just notice how you feel in saying that. Do you feel better about yourself? Like, do you get a hit like, yeah, I'm aligned, I'm good? And anytime it makes you feel better, it's ego. Because there's a reason when we're in the field harmonizing, when you come into master energy, when you're harmonizing, you want to raise up the you want to raise up ignorance, but you don't do it in an arrogant way. It's not overt. You're not going out preaching. It's not that at all. You're only doing it within yourself. All we have to balance is ourself. When we balance ourselves, we balance the planet. I know we're getting a little bit deep today. I'm going to just go through and see if there's any shift to go into. Okay, we're moving beyond the ego field and into the field of superconsciousness. So how can that happen? Every time you connect with another human being and you can really feel heart energy, you're in sacred union. Real heart energy. And if you hold it, you'll start to attract it. And it's this consciousness spreads fast. We need, okay, so in something, I'm writing an article right now called The Feminine Cycle of Healing. I'm going to put it out tomorrow in the Akashic Insight newsletter. I'll come back and post it on this video. A link to it in the description box under Show More. Okay, so if we're in a feminine cycle of healing. What was I going to say? Just lost it. Oh, the heart. Okay, so we're in a feminine cycle of healing. That means that a lot of the healers before, the gurus and the ashrams and all of that, that's great. It's great. We need sacred places to go, but we're out in the field now. We need to heal take your primary relationship, heal it. Take your friendships, heal them. Take your work, your relationship to your worth and your value, heal it. You're a guru. Done. That's all. Because the thing is that's the feminine way. It will spread. And if you really come into the heart, it's a little tricky right now because a lot of the platforms the ego's taking the back door, and there's a lot of fame, vanity, celebrity, competition, narcissism. Those are the feminine wounds. They're really tricky, but don't concentrate too much on them. Just notice if you fall into it. They can sneak in and grab you. When you find yourself, on Instagram or whatever it is, and you're like, it can get you. It's powerful. You want to have these things healed, but just let it drop away. Let it go. Let it slip away. Ego gone, and just shine, and let whatever comes in come in, and deal with people from that place. Love people from that place. I hope some of that's clear. Is any of that clear? You can let me know. It's a frequency. Divine love is a frequency, and divine love is the portal for super consciousness. Once you did that, the mind is healed. And once you heal the mind, this will spread on this planet. The more people it's off to a slow start. It's healing, but vanity and celebrity and narcissism is trying to come through the back door. It's really trying to come through the back door. So we just have to be aware of it and say, no, thank you, not today. And be in the heart. And by the way, a lot of the new celebrities coming in though are in heart consciousness. I've noticed it, and it's really amazing. Some of the new generation of celebs are opening in the heart, and they're pure. It's a new generation for Hollywood. It's a new generation for shining, because it's going to represent what we all are. And so that's all. I'm going to tell you what was happening outside. So I'm just going to say this. So I live on this. When I moved into this property, there is a land out behind my deck that is preserved land that was never going to be built on. And so that land, about 3 weeks ago, I have all these old growth trees. I post pictures of them all the time. This is something that I had to really, really deal with over the past 3 weeks. One day I heard a chainsaw, and then I heard a tree fall. And it literally pierced my heart. I gasped. I was like, I wasn't even looking at it, but I heard a tree fall and I knew it was a big tree. I know these trees. I mean, so this is my practice. I'm a Taurus. I've been meditating with these trees for 3 years now. I know each and every one of them. I have thousands of photographs of them in every season. I've talked to them. I've shared my meditation with them. So they're my friends. And one by one, um, they've been cut down over the past 3 weeks, and it's just been such a lesson to have to sit with, because I've had to look at it from every side. These old trees. I found out they're taking down 850 trees. I do not know why, because I'm told this land will never be built on. It looked like everything had plenty of space, plenty of room. I don't know why, but without projecting any judgment on, because I don't know the situation. All I know though is that these majestic beings that held a lot of energy, one by one, have been taken down, and the land has just been mowed. They left some trees up, but I got to experience every day 4 or 5 big ones falling, and to feel that in my heart. I've never been around that before. So it was like I felt a death each time in my heart. I could feel just that it's a crackling sound that I can't even explain. It sounds like something massive is leaving the planet. It's so loud, but it goes through you. It went through my heart. And so I just wanted to share that, because it's just having to do with our connection with the earth. That there may be, we humans and the earth have to live in harmony with each other. Sometimes the earth sacrifices for humans. Sometimes the humans adjust for the earth. We're in this balancing relationship. This is 3D earth too. So 3D earth has some upgrading it's doing as well. But I had to really sit with the idea of what it means to have this happen, and what it means when we're careless and reckless with nature. Because I know that there was spiritual light and beings in those energies. And I meditated with it, and the trees, this is going to sound so crazy, but their spirits are coming to me and speaking to me about this. And meaning I'm just receiving from it that they are collectively saying that because I'm here right now, there is space being cleared for a particular reason, and that to just have the understanding of energy coming and going on the planet is really important. It's important for us to understand what trees are and what nature is. And also the other part of that is that there's deer, there's foxes, there's there's so much wildlife back there. And I watched them displace this baby deer walking around, trying to find the scent of their path. And just, it was really intense. So I'm sharing that. I don't mean to make that a downer, but that's big for me. It means something big. I don't know. I haven't received the final wisdom on that, but I know something's coming. And to me, it really solidified the fact that nature is alive. It's alive, and that we also live in a world of change. What's here today can be gone tomorrow. I had no idea that was coming. That's a long oh thanks, Azra. Yeah, physical pain. What's physical pain? Let me, 222, I like that too. 222, well, that's polarity too. So yeah, it's also, yeah, the physical pain and suffering that's on the planet. So the trees are okay. They let me know that they are okay, but they are guardians on this planet, and so are we. When we wake up, we're guardians. So be kind. Be kind, and experience sacred union within you. Just do it. Do it for yourself, because you're going to feel an abundance of love. It doesn't mean that the world will shift automatically, but if you can start to have kindness, especially for the people who triggered you before, oh, you will have so much power in your heart. And that's Gemini. And then your words will change, your thinking will change, Gemini. The power of the word will awaken within you, and life will start to heal. Life is going to start to heal. Just going to look through this one last time and see if there's anything else. Moving beyond the egoic field, love versus appetite. So in this world, okay, so sacred union is also sacred union in relationships. Let's just finish on this note. We'll talk more about it next time. The sacred union in relationship, is it all about appetite and love are two different frequencies. We're allowed to have some appetite and we're allowed to have some desire, but this world is a world of appetites. So that's one way you can just check yourself when you're in your creative energy. Just check in, transmute the appetite into because appetite takes, but creativity gives, and in giving we receive as well. It's great to receive and to give, but appetite is a little bit more of a taking energy. So that being said, every week we are here. I've been hitting Wednesdays. Subscribe to the channel and you'll get an email. Also, I wanted to say I got some emails again. If you're subscribed and you're not getting notifications, hit the little gray bell next to subscribe and you should get an email when we go live. But if you're new, we do live streams every week, and it's always nice to connect with you guys. And thank you so much. Check out the video. I don't know if Anya's going to post it. She was in the chat at Anya Grace. If not, I will post it here. She might post it somewhere else. And I'm going to be posting a lot of different things in the underneath the description box. So check back. If you're interested in light body yoga, I would love to have you. It's truly, truly a masterwork of archetypal wisdom that's applied to awakening the consciousness vehicle for this age, the body of light. And so I invite you to check that out and contact me if you have any questions. That being said, I'll just close out the session for today. And I see something coming in. Huge hugs. Thank you. Huge angel hugs. I love that when you say that. Oh, interesting. In NYC, they don't have trees, so it's people being taken in ambulance. Absolute things are changing. So that's the message the trees gave me. Things are changing. We're going to see a lot of change. Hold your pillar of strength in your heart. Marry yourself to super consciousness and accept nothing else. Give it out because you're going to help heal a lot of people by doing that. That being said, namaste, and I'll see you guys next week, next Wednesday.